Hocus Pocus 2 has premiered on Disney Plus, and Disney Plus is definitely where the movie belongs. However, hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and Hocus Pocus 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus has a huge fan base, really quite a crazy one. Like few movies I've ever seen have the love that they have for Hocus Pocus. I am not a huge Hocus Pocus person. I first saw the movie 3 years ago on my honeymoon of all things. It's one of my wife's favorite movies, which means I'm committed to watching this thing every year. And I personally thought the movie was extremely annoying. I believed it then. I believe it to this day. I think the performances by Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker and like all of the three of them, I think they're all way over the top. I don't think the story is very interesting. It's not very scary. I'm not a big Hocus Pocus fan, but because I have to do my husbandly duties, I have to watch this thing every year. So when I heard that there was a Hocus Pocus 2 coming out and that it was going to premiere on Disney Plus, I thought that that seemed like an appropriate place to put it. I did not think that the first Hocus Pocus was necessarily a theatrical quality film. And then I saw the second one, and I feel mostly the same way, although I will admit, even though I didn't like Hocus Pocus 2, it is better. Not better enough to recommend it, but if Hocus Pocus 1 got 1 star for me, then Hocus Pocus 2 got 2 stars for me, so I guess it was twice as good. It's still just not worth recommending. But here's the thing. If I'm looking at it as a movie fan, as a film critic, yeah, Hocus Pocus 2 going to Disney Plus makes perfect sense. You don't necessarily want to treat this like this is one of your marquee titles. It really is cheap entertainment in some ways. And it seems like something that, yeah, this is something you would stream, and, you know, when you're streaming and you're not paying real money for it, it's something you could probably tolerate. I totally understand the thinking on that one. At the same time, as a Disney shareholder, because keep in mind, I have a entrepreneur channel where I talk about things like stocks and investing and entrepreneurship, I look at Hocus Pocus 2 being on Disney Plus and wonder, man, what a waste. What a waste to put it on Disney Plus. And it does make me wonder, as an investor, is Disney a smart company to invest in? Now, I know we don't normally talk about investments in box office and things like that on this channel, but I want to talk about that for a second. You know, right now, the box office for America is just really in a spin free fall right now. It's not doing very well. The two big movies as of the recording of this video was a horror movie called Smile, which did pretty good, and a LGBT rom-com called Bros that did very poorly. Neither of which did extraordinarily well, especially in Bros' case. Other movies that are out right now are Don't Worry Darling, which is struggling, The Woman King, which is actually doing pretty well, and a re-release of Avatar, which is also doing very well. And then you have Hocus Pocus 2 on Disney Plus. A movie that is inspiring group watch parties. I know several people who literally threw the first Halloween party of the year to watch the movie at the house. And I just look at how many people were watching Hocus Pocus 2, and it's like, why wasn't this in theaters? Now, here's the thing. I fully acknowledge that maybe when this movie was made, it was made with Disney Plus in mind. The timeline certainly adds up. It was during that period where it's like, oh, we've got to make content for streaming services. Streaming services are going to take over the world. We want to be in this business. We want to give people a reason to subscribe to Disney Plus or any streaming service. And so they greenlit Hocus Pocus 2. They budgeted it as a Disney Plus movie. They paid out like it was a Disney Plus movie. And so it was always going to be a Disney Plus movie. And as a result, if they wanted to put it in theaters, they would probably have to call the actors and renegotiate some contracts, because now the movie's going to be bringing in actual money. It's not just going to be plopped on Disney Plus for free. But since the movie was greenlit, some things happened. Netflix lost subscribers for the first time ever, and there's some question about whether or not streaming can truly be the eggs in one basket moneymaker that the studios want you to think it is. The reality is streaming is like DVD, VHS rentals. It's a supplement, but it is not a complete replacement for everything. In fact, it's even less so because the cost of entry is so low. What's more, the box office actually did recover quite a bit. Now, there's been a lot of talk in the news about how the last few weeks have been the lowest box office numbers ever, but that's primarily because there's just no movies out there right now. But with the release of Spider-Man No Way Home and Top Gun Maverick, we have seen that people will come back to the movie theaters if the right movie is there to watch. And so you take everything into account, the fact that Hocus Pocus 2 was a sequel that has been begged for years by a very, very loyal fan base. You look at the fact that streaming is starting to show chinks in the armor, that it should be more of a supplemental thing than a thing that supports the whole house. Like, it can't be the main beam, it has to be a supporting beam, if you will. And you look at the fact that the box office is recovering, and it's recovering nicely, but there needs to be product for people to want to see. And then you couple in the fact that, hey, there's nothing in the theaters right now that people are really rushing out to see, so much so that Avatar is one of the top 5 films. The original Avatar that came out 13 years ago is one of the top 5 movies at the box office. And I just sit here and I think to myself, you know, quality-wise as a film, Hocus Pocus 2 belongs on Disney Plus. However, there was a huge opportunity missed by not putting it into theaters. And really, I know that, contracts are complicated, but there was enough time. This movie's been finished for a while. There was enough time to read the room. There was enough time to see that Netflix numbers were starting to fall. You could see that the box office was recovering, and you could even see the warning signs fairly far in advance that, hey, September and October is going to be a bloodbath at the movie theaters because there's just nothing to see. There's no products out there. I mean, there's a reason they did the $3 movie ticket day, because there was just nothing to see. Like, the re-release of Jaws was the big movie that weekend. That's how bad it got. So I think there was enough time for Disney to pivot, renegotiate some of these contracts, and put Hocus Pocus 2 into movie theaters. And I think they should have put Hocus Pocus 2 in the movie theaters. And they should have kept the September 30th date. Because, first of all, they would basically have been the only game in town. The people who want to see Hocus Pocus 2 are not going to go see Smile. They're not going to go see Bros. And they are in the probably millions of Hocus Pocus fans. Like, it's amazing how popular this franchise is. You would have had the #1 movie for the week. Heck, you would have had the #1 movie probably for the whole month, because it would have opened strong. All the hardcore fans would have come out to see it for the first couple weeks, and then as it got closer to Halloween, you would have had repeat viewings, and if not people going to see it because, hey, it's a Halloween-themed movie, and it's in theaters, like, duh. I mean, yeah, you are competing with Halloween Kills at that point, but then you would have the advantage at that point. I'd say you, as in Disney, would have the advantage that Hocus Pocus 2 would be exclusively in theaters, while Halloween Kills is also going to be streaming on Peacock, so people can stay home and watch Halloween Kills if they want. And so I'm just looking at this whole situation as an investor, and it's like, this is ridiculous. This was a huge, huge missed opportunity for Disney. And I know that Bob Chapek recently dug in deep on streaming, and maybe he's doing so because Lightyear didn't do particularly well. Maybe he's looking at the way Lightyear kind of tanked, if you will, and saying, well, that kind of shows that streaming is the future for us. Our customers would prefer to stream it at home, therefore we've got to double down on it. The reason they didn't see Lightyear is because people didn't really want to see Lightyear, and they were expecting to get it for free in 45 days. Like, there's a reason that Warner Brothers and Paramount basically have backtracked and said, we're not adhering to the 45-day window anymore. That's a bare minimum, yes, but we will keep the movies in theaters longer if we have to, because we're going to start unconditioning people to wait for things to go to streaming. Disney is the only one that's not doing that, and thus I think Disney customers are aware, and that's why they didn't go see Lightyear. What's more, Turning Red was a huge hit on Disney Plus, but it didn't bring in any money because people are streaming it for free. Now, I did buy my 4K copy of it when it came out, but and I did see it in theaters. I made a video. You can watch it above if you want. But ultimately, if you hear the jets, it's because there's a show going on, and I can't edit it out. But Disney's like the only company that really hasn't backed down on this, and I think Chapek's even in a little bit of denial because he said something recently along the lines of how the pandemic has forever changed people's viewing habits and there's no going back to what theatrical was pre-pandemic. And he cited Encanto as an example, like it was a bomb in theaters, but it did very well on Disney Plus. Never mind that Encanto was only in theaters for 30 days. 30 days. And the only reason it did well on Disney Plus is because the word of mouth built in those 30 days from people who did see it, and people who heard how great it was also knew that if they waited 2 weeks, they could watch for free. So I think as a company, Disney needs to really reevaluate the streaming wars. I'm not saying don't prioritize Disney Plus to a certain extent. I would like to see more original programming on Disney Plus, especially stuff that's not Marvel and Star Wars. I think that's become like a major weight for them to not make programs for the general audiences. But I would like to see them go back to theatrical. Well, I mean, of course I would, but I think Hocus Pocus 2 is like the highlight. Like, this should have been theatrical. They would have made at least a couple $100 million easily, maybe more for all we know. I think Hocus Pocus 2 could have been like their big theatrical hit movie, and then you could have still put it on Disney Plus, and then people would have gone to Disney Plus and watched it again anyway. And I just wonder why no one there didn't stop to think about that. Like, even Pinocchio, I mean, look, the Pinocchio movie was not good. But it's Tom Hanks, it's Robert Zemeckis, it's based off of a beloved Disney movie. It would have at least opened with $30 million. Like, why is Disney leaving money on the table when they don't have to anymore? I know the pandemic's technically speaking not over, but people are back to their full lives again. And they're going to the movies and they want to see movies, and Disney's just not providing them, and that's why they're not making money. But that's my thoughts. I mean, again, didn't like Hocus Pocus 2, and I do believe, like, quality-wise, the movie belongs on Disney Plus. I'm just kind of thinking about it, and it's like, why is it in theatrical? Why isn't Disney using it as a stepping block to start rebuilding their theatrical output and bringing that money back in? I don't know. So anyway, I'd like to know what all of you think about this. Do I have a point? Do you not care? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.